How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is currently running its games under $15 sale, as well as the extended play sale. We're going to be looking at the games under the price of $5 in this video. The majority of these deals come from the games under $15 sale. One deal does come from the extended play sale, but, you know, it's not really relevant which sale it comes from. They both end on the same day, I'm pretty sure. So, without further ado, let's get right into it, and let's start things off with Mad Max, which is 75% off for $4.99. This game came out back in September of 2015, and it came out on the same day of Metal Gear Solid 5, so it kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit, and not a lot of people checked it out that day. However, I feel like over time, more and more people have picked it up while it goes on sale and whatnot, and this is a pretty solid action-adventure game. And the narrative actually does pick up by the end. I thought the combat was quite good, and visually it looked fine, but I thought the performance was really good more than anything. And, you know, I'm not saying you're going to get a blow-away game here, but I do think you'll find a pretty decent open-world game that maybe it wasn't worth a full $60, but for $4.99, I think it's a fine pickup. And if you're looking for a new world to get into, I think Mad Max is a pretty decent game. Doubt we'll ever get a follow-up title, but yeah, for $4.99, I think that's a pretty darn good pickup. Next up, another open-world game I've talked about to death, but guess what? I'm going to keep doing it so more and more people can pick it up and we can hopefully one day get a sequel, and that is, of course, Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, which is 85% off for $4.49. I love this game. I've completed it so many times at this point on PlayStation and on PC as well. It's just a fantastic game. The PlayStation 4 version does include a bunch of DLC content as well, and yeah, it's just a great game, a gritty story, and yes, it is an open-world crime game, but don't think of this as GTA. It's really not that. It's got more focus on the hand-to-hand combat, the gritty narrative. I thought Wei was a fantastic main character as well, and you've got quite a bit of content. The soundtrack also, banger soundtrack here. Kind of one of those low-key soundtracks that you don't hear a lot about, but Sleeping Dogs is a really, really good soundtrack, and for $4.49, no-brainer here, definitely a recommendation. Next up, another one I often rave about, but if you never checked out Tomb Raider 2013, the Definitive Edition is a fantastic pickup, 85% off for $2.99. Look, I was never a Tomb Raider fan growing up. Like, I played the games here and there, but Tomb Raider 2013 really got me into the franchise, and a lot of people were like, oh, it's just an Uncharted ripoff, and no, it's good on its own merits. It's just a really, really well-made game. I thought the pacing was good. I thought the story in Tomb Raider 2013 was pretty good. Obviously, things go awry and gets kind of wild, but, you know, it is what it is. Gameplay I thought was solid, and yes, the game came out back in 2013. I still think it holds up decently well enough, and you're paying $3 for it. It's not like you're getting into this game for the multiplayer or anything like that either. You're just playing the single-player campaign, and yeah, it's not super lengthy. You could probably complete it over a weekend if you're free, and overall, I mean, we got so many 40-plus hour games these days that a nice 7 to 10 hour game here and there ain't a bad thing, and Tomb Raider Definitive Edition I feel like really offers that. $3, no-brainer here. Speaking of games that are a little bit lengthy, Metal Gear Solid 5, the Definitive Experience, this is just an insane deal, 80% off for $3.99, so this gets you MGS5, Ground Zeroes, and a bunch of DLC content. Ground Zeroes is, like, very short, but it's a nice gateway into Metal Gear Solid 5, and how it connects everything together is pretty wild. I mean, I think even if Metal Gear Solid 5 was not your narrative of T when it came to the Metal Gear games, I still thought everything came together quite nicely. I thought you got immersed into the world via the cassette tapes. If you take your time and listen to them, there is a lot going on in the game. Soundtrack is pretty good, and the gameplay, you know, a lot of games that are traditionally linear titles, more linear games, like a Metal Gear, and then they take it open world, might actually lose a little bit going into that open world. Remember, this was at a period where, like, everything was going open world, but Metal Gear Solid 5, I thought the open world accentuated the core stealth gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 5, and I thought it just complemented it really well. Overall, for $3.99, I think this is a great deal. Imagine most of you have checked it out, but if you haven't, the Definitive Experience is the way to go, and $4 is a ridiculously good deal. Next up, yet another open world game, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition. This is the one deal that's available on the extended play sale. I guess the idea is because it includes some additional content, because it is the Game of the Year Edition, but you could say, then why isn't Metal Gear Solid 5, the Definitive Experience, a part of that sale? Nonetheless, it is kind of irrelevant. Shadow of Mordor is a great game. This was one of the first PlayStation 4 games that I think a lot of people checked out and was like, wow, this actually feels and plays like a next-generation title. At that time, we're talking 2014, and ultimately this game got ported down to the PS3 and 360 as well, so, you know, take that for what you will. But I thought Shadow of Mordor was a great game. Not a big Middle-earth guy, not a big Lord of the Rings guy, but this is a game that I enjoyed. Quality content, combat. Open world isn't huge by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a good bit of content there, and I think for $4.99, I think this is a pretty good pickup. Pretty good story, and after you beat this, definitely check out Shadow of War. And I should mention, if you don't have either Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War, you just want to pick them up both, they do have a complete collection that goes on sale every now and again, so just keep that in mind. Maybe skip out on this for now, and then wait for that collection to go on sale, and then pick it up, because, you know, that is going to offer you better value. Next up, Darksiders Warmastered Edition, 80% off for $3.99. Now, this is available through PlayStation Plus Premium, but it seems like all you guys, or a lot of you guys, hate PlayStation Plus Premium, given the offerings right now, so maybe, you know, you could just buy this game to own it. It's 80% off for $3.99. I want to say this came out initially back in, like, 2010, 2011. I want to say it came out the same January that Bayonetta came out. How I remember obscure facts like that, I don't know, but nonetheless, I thought Darksiders turned out to be a really good game. It saw a lot of comparisons to, like, The Legend of Zelda and God of War, and I was always hesitant reading those comparisons just because those games are top class titles that, you know, Darksiders isn't a top-class title, let's just be honest about it, but it is a solid action game with some good puzzles, some variety in the gameplay. Narratively, it's fine, and I think for $4, it's a pretty good pickup. They do have the Darksiders Fury Collection, War and Dead, so if you want both titles, you can check that out for $7.99. Definitely not a bad pickup there, but just Darksiders 1 for $4, pretty good deal. Next up, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, 85% off for $4.49. Man, I should just do an entire video on Deus Ex, on, you know, my thoughts on the franchise, but I had insanely high expectations for Mankind Divided, as you guys probably know by now, because I loved Human Revolution. Mankind Divided, in my opinion, was not as good as Human Revolution. It made some improvements on the gameplay side of things, but narratively, which a lot of people play Deus Ex for an engrossing narrative, just not as strong, and the ending left a lot to be desired, but it's still a quality action RPG that I think a lot of people can enjoy. Overall, it's a good game, and you're paying $4.49 for it, so it's not like you're, you know, breaking the bank for this one. They do have the digital deluxe edition for $6.74 if you do want to check that out. Hopefully, now that Deus Ex is in different hands, maybe at some point we'll get a Human Revolution remaster, and then maybe at some point we'll see another Deus Ex game, because this is a franchise that has a lot of legs to it. Even as, I guess, negative as I am towards Mankind Divided, I still think it's a pretty darn good game, and again, you can do so much more with Deus Ex going forward, and hopefully they do that. But yeah, $4.50 for this, quite a good deal. Next up, we have Castlevania, Requiem, Symphony of the Night, and Rondo of Blood. Speaking of franchises the publisher can do more with, 80% off for $3.99. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is one of the most iconic games of all time. Like, I even remember growing up where, like, I would hear about Symphony of the Night, and bear in mind, during the PSN 1 era, I was literally like 6 or 7 years old. Yeah, it's just one of those games that has just become absolutely iconic, and, you know, going back playing it now, maybe you won't get that same vibe, but it's still a classic, and I think if you do give it a chance, at $4, it's pretty good. Rondo of Blood is available here as well, so that's quite nice. I would say that initial $19.99 price point may have been a bit high, but at $4, I think it's pretty good, especially if you are into the Castlevania-style games, Metroidvania, whatever you want to call it. $4, not a bad deal. Next up, Dragon's Crown Pro, 80% off for $3.99. Vanillaware has honestly become one of my favorite developers on the planet today. I just love their games from an art style standpoint, and gameplay-wise, I think Dragon's Crown is pretty good. You have an action RPG here that I wouldn't say is absolutely blow away from a narrative standpoint. However, I thought the gameplay was good. I thought visually, obviously, it's Vanillaware. You're gonna get quality visuals out of the game. It's good. It's just the full price may have not been worth it, but for $4, definitely a good time. Odin Sphere Left Tracer is one of their other games that you should definitely check out at some point. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is totally different than their other games, but still employs that same art style. And then Warmastered the Demon's Blade, unfortunately, never saw a port on PlayStation 4. It's available on Vita, though. But Dragon's Crown Pro, $4 for that is pretty good, and yeah, not a bad pickup. Next up, we have Unravel, 75% off for $4.99. I should note, this is available with EA Play, so you can play the game if you do have a subscription. Unravel is a game that I really wanted it to be a bit better than it was, but it's still a good game. Visually, it is just a stunning game, and I think artistically, this game just nails it. Some of the puzzles and whatnot, those leave a little bit to be desired, to say the least, but this is a game that obviously, like, a lot of emotion was poured into the game, and you can even go back to when this game was initially revealed. You can kind of see that shine through, and it's still a good game. $5 I think is the perfect price to pay for it. If you are looking to own it, again, you can play through EA Play. But if you want a very colorful game, a very charming game, I think as far as the word charming goes, Unravel absolutely embodies that. And for $5, it's a good pickup. I would say check it out if you do want something, you know, more about the presentation and the emotion. I thought Unravel really nails those elements. Speaking of emotion, a game that nails that, but in a totally different sense, This War of Mine, The Little Ones, is 85% off for $2.99. This is available with PlayStation Plus Extra. Man, 11-bit Studios, they got some, they do games that definitely make you feel some sort of way, and This War of Mine definitely did showcase that. It kind of shows you the horrors of war, and that's kind of what they wanted to embody with This War of Mine. It's a survival game that comes across very realistic, and then it gets you emotionally invested into the game, where you do have to make choices that are going to be emotional investments, and they're going to have repercussions. And again, it's not about you playing as an overpowered character or anything like that. It's about making cold and harsh decisions in the brutal reality that is war. And yeah, it's a game that got a lot of buzz when it came out, and still people talk about it to this day, and they did a great fundraiser with it recently. But $3 for This War of Mine with The Little Ones, I think this is a really good buy. And if you did enjoy this game, Frostpunk is another one of their games. They're working on Frostpunk 2 right now. So yeah, this is a great price, but again, available through Plus Extra. And lastly, I do want to give a shout to Phantom Doctrine, which is 90% off for $4. You know what? I would have liked to see this game be $2, just because Phantom Doctrine is a game that I really wanted to like. If you guys know me, I constantly talk highly about the XCOM games. Those games are really good tactical titles, and I'm not a big fan of that genre. Phantom Doctrine, definitely you get that XCOM vibe for it. It's not as good as XCOM. The setting is cool with the Cold War setting, but yeah, it just doesn't have the level of depth, and some of the other gameplay elements to it is a little bit meandering, and I feel like just not that great. The gameplay itself, when you're actually in-game, is pretty good. I mean, obviously, if you haven't played XCOM, go play XCOM first, and if you really enjoy that, then circle back and check out Phantom Doctrine. XCOM is like A tier in that category, but for $4, not a bad deal. I just wanted to give it a shout. Great setting, but yeah, again, XCOM Lite here, a lot of people would consider it. But that is going to do it for me. Again, a lot of great deals available right now within the PlayStation stores under 15 and extended play sale. If you're not picking anything up, guys, you know how this works. We're coming up on the fall. There's going to be like a billion sales running, not only on digital games, but physical games as well. Before you know it, Black Friday is going to be here. The holiday sale is going to be here. So if you want to take it easy as far as buying games right now, honestly, not a bad idea. But if you want to stay on the cheap side, a lot of good stuff is available. That's going to do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.